Tonight, a shock decision by an iconic Canadian whiskey brand. A major bottling plant set to close down and head to the U.S.
I was pissed off, so I made it clear to the company that they have a fight on their hands.
What's behind the shutdown and how workers are preparing to fight for their jobs. A wake-up call for Canada's sports landscape.
The Canadian sports system is in crisis. As many have told us, it is broken.
The failures revealed in a new report and what it will take to get them fixed. And on the mission to solve a Canadian mystery.
People are really ready to embrace this kind of like, oh, this is an important part of our history.
How a museum in Quebec is searching for answers about century-old whale bones found in a small Ontario town.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening. A product with a decades-long connection to this country is about to lose part of its Canadian spirit. The maker of Crown Royal revealing today it will close its bottling plant in Amherstburg, Ontario in the new year, shifting some operations south of the border during the Canada-U.S. trade war. The Canadian whiskey was created for the visit of King George VI and Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mum, in 1939, on the occasion of the first ever visit of a reigning monarch to Canada. And it was personally crafted by Canadian businessman Samuel Bronfman. CTV's Adrian Gabriel on why the company says it's making the move and how many jobs will be lost.
Locals say this plant in the small town of Amherstburg, Ontario, has been a lifeline in this community for nearly a century.
I feel most for the people who are the 160 people who are losing their job. It was the largest employer in Amherstburg.
Crown Royal's parent company, the British-based Diageo, says the bottling plant, which is just a short drive from the Windsor-Detroit border, is in part moving some bottling volume to be closer to its many U.S. Crown Royal consumers. Canadian union leaders believe the company is kneeling to U.S. President Donald Trump's trade threats.
It sounds like it to me, and they need to move it closer to the U.S. They're building a plant in Alabama as we speak. I think they have enough businesses there.
A company spokesperson told CTV News connecting this decision to U.S.-imposed tariffs on Canadian goods would be inaccurate, pointing out that Crown Royal will continue to be mashed, distilled, blended, and aged in Canada, just as it has been since 1939.
We have the highest unemployment in the community in Canada, so it's not like there's a lot of jobs that they can just go to.
While the multinational Diageo has promised to do everything it can to support workers, the company will be shuttering operations in Amherstburg in February, leaving a bitter taste in the mouth of those who call this town of 24,000 home.
We need to maintain the jobs. Without the jobs, we become a bedroom community, and I, as mayor, do not want that. This is a major blow.
The company says Crown Royal products destined for Canadian and non-U.S. markets will continue to be bottled in Valleyfield, Quebec. Adrian Gabriel, CTV News, Toronto.
And Ontario could have another alcohol-related problem on the horizon. Coming up a little later in the show, we'll show you how the closure of dozens of beer stores could toss a major recycling project in the trash. A troubling new snapshot today on the state of sport in Canada. CTV's Andrew Johnson on the allegations of widespread abuse, harassment, discrimination, and a culture of silence.
They traveled the country for a year, speaking to hundreds of athletes, administrators, coaches, and parents. The consensus, clear.
The Canadian sports system is in crisis. As many have told us, it is broken.
The Future of Sport in Canada Commission found evidence of widespread abuse and mistreatment at all levels. Children and Olympians alike left vulnerable.
Physical punishment, sexual assault, training while injured, humiliation, intimidation, isolation tactics, failures to provide medical care, discrimination, and exploitation.
The commission also found in a win-at-all-costs culture of silence, when an athlete musters up the courage to come forward, they often run into a brick wall.
Victims and survivors are often lost in the web of various complaints mechanisms, resulting in many feeling helpless and abandoned.
The commission is making 71 recommendations, including the creation of a unified national safe sport tribunal to eliminate the patchwork between local, provincial, and federally regulated organizations, a new funding model based on compliance, background checks, and a nationwide public registry to flag wrongdoers and restrict access. Survivors of abuse like gymnast Amelia Klein say their horrible experiences are finally being validated.
To have them influence what we hope is going to be meaningful change in the system is, there are hardly words to actually describe what that feels like.
She says the ball is now in Ottawa's court to take action. These are only recommendations that after another round of feedback will then be presented to government next spring. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
The Quebec government is planning to table a bill that would ban prayer in public spaces. Premier François Legault has previously said he doesn't want to see people praying in public parks or streets, and legislation is set to be tabled this fall. While it's not yet clear how the ban would work, the premier hasn't ruled out using the notwithstanding clause, the legal provision allowing governments to override charter rights. New details are emerging tonight about that heartbreaking shooting at a Catholic school in Minneapolis yesterday. For the first time, the father of an 8-year-old who was killed spoke, making an emotional plea. CTV's Michael Couture on what he said and what we are learning about the alleged killer's video manifesto.
Where are they? The panic is palpable. Video taken by a father who ran into the church after the shooting shows children and adults rush out of the building. 8-year-old Fletcher Merkel was one of the victims.
Please remember Fletcher for the person he was and not the act that ended his life. Give your kids an extra hug and kiss today. We love you, Fletcher. You'll always be with us.
Other parents describe the chilling moments as they searched for their kids Wednesday morning.
I just saw teachers, but it was because the kids were laying down. And I got closer and I just saw blood everywhere.
Police say a protocol requiring the doors to be locked during Mass saved countless lives, but the shooter managed to still fire a total of 119 rounds, aiming through the windows. Outside the church, residents lay flowers and stuffed animals at a makeshift memorial for the 2 dead and 18 injured. Meanwhile, the police investigation focuses on a now deleted video manifesto. In it, 23-year-old Robin Westman shows off a disturbing diary.
The shooter idolized some of the most notorious school shooters and mass murderers in our country's history. The shooter was obsessed with the idea of killing children.
The weapons used were obtained legally, but today local lawmakers are pushing for stricter gun control.
We're not talking about your father's hunting rifle here. We're talking about guns that are built to pierce armor and kill people.
Minneapolis' police chief said the shooter had no criminal history and no state-ordered commitments for mental health. So there was nothing preventing the assailant from buying those guns. Omar.
CTV's Michael Couture in Washington tonight. A standoff over the leadership of the Centers for Disease Control appears to be over. The White House says Donald Trump has fired the director of America's top public health agency.
So if people are not aligned with the president's vision and the secretary's vision to make our country healthy again, then we will gladly show them the door.
Susan Menares was nominated for the role by Trump and was just confirmed last month. She reportedly clashed with Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. over issues including changes to the COVID vaccine policy. The dismissal of Menares was followed by the resignations of at least 4 other top CDC officials over what they call the weaponizing of public health. Their colleagues gave them a farewell ovation today as they were escorted out of the agency. Among those who stepped down is the deputy director and head of immunization. Last night, we brought you the emotional reunion of a mother and son who had been separated for more than 50 years. That man, one of thousands of Indigenous children taken from their homes during the Sixties Scoop and put in non-Indigenous households as part of a government-sanctioned program of forced assimilation. Now, as CTV's Alex Carper reports, there are renewed calls for more supports to help those children reconnect with their roots.
Yeah, this was the group that I posted in.
It took years for Catherine Strongwind to find her biological family. She was only a year old when she was taken from them in 1973.
I didn't know that I had 4 siblings and that my parents had passed away before I turned 11 years old.
She tried on numerous occasions over the years to reconnect with her siblings, but was unsuccessful.
They didn't know about me and were suspicious.
It's been a painful journey for Strongwind. Although she couldn't reconnect, she knows who her family is, but there are many others like her who have been left in the dark.
A lot of these adoptees are learning about their true heritage later in life, and a lot of them were lied to. They were told they were either, French or Italian, right, to explain why they were a little bit brown.
It was known as the 60s Scoop, but it took place between the 1950s all the way to the mid-80s, with an estimated 20,000 Indigenous children taken from their families and placed into non-Indigenous homes right across the country. Thousands were taken outside of Canada, like survivor Jonathan Hooker from New Zealand, who returned to Manitoba for the first time in 50 years on Wednesday after tracing his roots back to Moose Lake in northern Manitoba. 60s Scoop advocate Colleen Rajot says she wants a federal program in place to help survivors navigate the reunification process.
We need more outreach, and we need a permanent office that helps people come back home and find their family.
Strongwind agrees and hopes to see a national inquiry into the 60s Scoop.
We still don't know how many children were taken, where they were taken to, how many died in care.
Strongwind hopes that putting a spotlight on the 60s Scoop will help light a path for other survivors to find their way back home. Alex Scarpa, CTV News, Winnipeg.
Canada and India have named their new high commissioners 10 months after expelling each other's top diplomatic envoys, amid allegations the Indian government was behind the killing of a Canadian Sikh activist. Foreign Minister Anita Anand says this appointment is a reflection of a deepening diplomatic engagement and advancing bilateral cooperation with India. But the Sikh community is expressing deep concern and frustration, claiming that restoring diplomatic ties with India is a serious abdication of the government's responsibility to protect Canada's citizens. We are getting a first-hand look tonight at the devastation caused by Nova Scotia's largest wildfire. CTV's Paul Hollingsworth was there with one family as they saw how the flames devoured their home.
When James Milner first heard the news, it was his worst fears realized. 20 homes in the West Dalhousie area are destroyed, including Milner's.
Well, they called me and told me my house was flat, gone, nothing left, burnt to the ground.
Milner and his partner, Donna Ruggles, evacuated their home almost 2 weeks ago. In a last-minute rush, they grabbed some belongings and fled the area.
I got one pair of boots, one pair of socks, one pair of joggers, one shirt.
James Milner hopes to rebuild his home someday, but for now, he doesn't know where the money will come from.
How's your insurance? None. You can't afford insurance nowadays, the way they charge everything.
The Long Lake wildfire is massive, about 82 square kilometers in size, and is burning in the remote, deep woods, making it difficult to contain. As crews continue to work in dangerous conditions, volunteers and county officials are focused on helping the evacuees and those who have lost their homes.
We feel for these people, and we're trying to do and find avenues to support these people.
Annapolis County Deputy Warden Dustin Enslow says people who live here are braced for more homes to be lost as this wildfire continues to burn out of control. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Annapolis Royal, Nova Scotia.
To Western Canada and BC, where authorities are urging caution this weekend, warning that hot and dry conditions could spark new flames.
Even just a cigarette butt out the window could start a major fire, because a wildfire could destroy people's homes, it can destroy their livelihoods, really throw communities into chaos.
More than a dozen new fires have popped up across the province in the past 24 hours, including one sparked by a motorhome crash on a highway. This brings the total number of active wildfires to more than 80. Overseas, children are among the 23 people killed in one of the deadliest Russian attacks on Ukraine. CTV's Rachel Aiello with how the major drone attack is sparking a strong response from Canada and other nations.
Body bags pulled from the rubble at this smoldering residential building after Russia launched a massive air attack on Kyiv. Dozens of buildings obliterated or damaged by debris from drone and missile strikes. Russia claimed to be targeting Ukraine's military-industrial complex, but the death toll, expected to rise, already includes 4 children. Russia is striking at everyone who seeks peace, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said in a war address. The assault is the first targeting of the city center since Donald Trump met with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The White House saying today the U.S. president was not happy, but not surprised by the escalation.
And this killing, unfortunately, will continue as long as the war continues.
Diplomatic offices of the European Union and British Council were damaged by the bombardment. Officials in Brussels and London summoning Russia's envoys in response.
We are keeping maximum pressure on Russia. And of course, we are ensuring strong, unwavering support to Ukraine.
The Canadian embassy was not hit. Foreign Affairs confirming all staff are safe. But that didn't deter Prime Minister Mark Carney from blasting Russia in a lengthy statement. By murdering when he should be talking, Putin demonstrates in the most horrific manner that his mission to subsume the Ukrainian people under his tyranny continues, Carney said. The Prime Minister was just in Kyiv, where he vowed Canada's aid contributions could expand in the event of a ceasefire.
And I would not exclude the presence of troops.
Zelensky spent the aftermath of the attack pressing other world leaders for tougher Russian sanctions. The Kremlin insists that Putin remains interested in negotiating towards an end to the 3-year war. Omar?
All right, Rachel, thank you. Coming up, the beer bottle dilemma. Why the future of Ontario's bottle return program could be in jeopardy. Plus, how did a staircase wind up on top of a moving vehicle? The decision by the Ontario government to shutter dozens of beer stores is setting the stage for a new problem. Where will consumers take all their empties? CTV's Heather Wright shows us why that's becoming a concern.
Last year, more than 1.6 billion empties were returned to Ontario beer stores, according to the retailer.
It's $33 here.
But with more than 100 locations either shuttered or slated to close by the end of the year, some fear the program won't survive.
Where were those people going to get their money back? You're not going to drive an hour to a beer store.
Most provinces have some sort of deposit return program, whether it's through retailers or purpose-built depots. In Ontario, the program has been run by the beer store for decades, a retailer owned by international brewing companies that once had a monopoly on beer sales in the province. The Ford government canceled that contract, allowing for beer and wine to be sold in grocery and convenience stores, paying a $225 million penalty to end it early.
There is more points of sale to buy it, but what's going to happen with the recycling and the empties?
At this point, it's unclear. According to the province, grocery stores that sell alcohol must begin accepting empties and providing refunds on January 1st. But now some grocers, including Loblaws, Metro, and Sobeys, are rethinking selling booze, saying their stores are not designed for alcohol returns. Given the cost and operational complexities of managing alcohol returns, some retailers are reassessing whether it remains viable to continue selling alcohol. The union representing beer store workers expects more closures next year, a hit to recycling and to those who rely on the cash from empties to make ends meet.
This is really helpful for us.
The province says the beer store will continue to operate the deposit and return program until 2031, but with more and more stores like this one closing, it's not clear if consumers will go out of their way to return their empties. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
Still ahead. The man who led Canada's basketball heroes to glory has a new role. We'll tell you what it is straight ahead. Plenty of commuter headaches after a massive sinkhole opened up today in Toronto.
The infrastructure in Toronto is old. They can't afford to replace it all at once.
Crews scrambled to carry out emergency repairs. Significant damage as a large portion of the intersection caved in. The collapse was caused by a water main break.
How can you drive like this?
And not every day you see this, a car driving through a Toronto neighborhood with a staircase on top of it. Police say the vehicle reversed into a building, striking the stairs, which then stayed attached. A 22-year-old woman has been charged with careless driving. Former Raptors president Masai Ujiri has a new high-profile role. Ahead of the 80th session of the UN General Assembly next month, the Secretary General has named Ujiri as a Sustainable Development Goals advocate. He will now join a group of influential leaders championing change and action on everything from climate action to reducing poverty, education, and eliminating hunger. Still ahead, why a set of whale bones has launched an archaeological mystery. A museum curator in Montreal is piecing together mystery about ancient whale bones that have long been linked to local lore in a small Ontario town. CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Beauchemin explains the quest.
In the back rooms of McGill's Redpath Museum, curator Anthony Howell is working to solve a, well, whale of a mystery.
What we're looking at is 3 whale bones, 2 vertebrae and a rib from a very large whale, possibly a baleen whale, possibly a humpback whale.
Howell is digging through archives.
Humpback whale, Pleistocene, Smiths Falls, Ontario.
He's trying to figure out whether these are the 12,000-year-old whale bones at the heart of a legend from a town in Ontario. A quest that began last February with an email from the Smiths Falls Heritage House Museum.
I remember hearing it as early as being in elementary school.
Museum assistant Aidan Tucker was trying to verify whether the story of humpback whale bones found in 1882 during work to build a CP rail line and donated to the Redpath Museum was fact or fiction. Smiths Falls is nowhere near a body of water fit for a humpback whale now, but 12,000 years ago it was beneath what was then the Champlain Sea.
This is an important part of our history.
This is the annual report from 1883.
Howell painstakingly dug through handwritten archives and found evidence whale bones from Smiths Falls had indeed been deposited at the Redpath. He also found the bones he believes could be the ones.
These 2 were stored on top of cabinets in the mammal collection room.
Now he's working on collecting scientific evidence like carbon dating to link these bones to Smiths Falls and to determine whether they are indeed those of a humpback whale.
Unfortunately, Whaley McWhaleface is still in the lead for the whale naming contest.
All this has built excitement for the local legend in Smiths Falls, where a naming contest is now underway.
There's Sam Whale to Champlain. There's 1 vote for Anthony Howell.
Howell says there's still plenty of digging to do, but this fishtail, it turns out, could be true. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Montreal.
And that's a snapshot of this Thursday. Marcia McMillan is here tomorrow. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching and good evening.
CTV National News, Canada's #1 newscast.